All right, guys, now we're going to look at anagrams. So an anagram is a word or a phrase that is formed by rearranging the letters of another. So, for instance, cinema, you can form the word Iceman. They both have the same characters, same number of characters. So we're going to have a function where we pass in a string and check to see if it's an anagram. So let's create a new folder and we'll call it anagram. And inside there we'll have anagram.js and also anagram.test.js. All right, and we'll start off with the test. So let's bring in our anagram function that we're going to create. So that's going to be /anagram. And let's describe, just say anagram. And then we have our function, and let's do our first it. So let's say it should be a function. So we're going to expect the type of, so let's say type of anagram, and we want that to equal function. Okay, and then let's copy that down. Whoops. Copy that down, and it should also return a Boolean. Okay, because we're going to pass in the string, and if it's an anagram, then it'll be true. If it's not, it'll be false. So let's say it should be, or it should return a Boolean. Okay, so what we'll do is say type of anagram, and then we'll just pass in two strings. It could be true or false. It doesn't matter. It just has to be a Boolean. So we'll say ram and arm, which are anagrams. And then we want to say the type of that is going to be a Boolean. All right, then we're going to, let's copy that down. We want to return true if it is an anagram. So we'll say it should return true if anagram. So we can actually use this example here. I'm just going to get rid of type of because we're not testing the type, we're testing the actual output. So the output of this should be truthy. So let's say to be truthy. All right, we'll do a couple more. So we have ram and arm. Let's do cinema. And actually, I'm sorry, this should be a string. Arm up here too. Okay, and then we have cinema and Iceman. So those both have the same characters. And then let's do, what's another one? God and dog. Say dog and God. All right, so those are all anagrams, so those should return true. Then we'll copy this down, and we want to return false if it's not an anagram. So let's say false if not anagram. And we'll do like, let's say hello and fellow. We'll say world and twirl and say lost and cost. So these are not anagrams, so these should all be falsy. So let's change that to falsy. All right, so those are our tests. Now let's jump into Anagram.js. And this is just going to be a little complicated the way we're going to do this. So basically, for both strings that are passed in, where we have to figure out if it's an anagram or not, we're going to create a character map for each one, which is basically just an object that has, for a key, it'll have the character, or each character in the string, and for the value, it'll have the number of times or the number of occurrences of that character, so that then we can basically compare the character maps together. So let me show you what I mean. If we do function anagram, and we're going to take in two strings. So we'll say a string 1 and string 2. And then we're going to have two character maps. So the first one will be called a char map. And we're going to have a helper function called build char map. So build a character map. And then we'll pass in string 1 for that. Then we're going to have another one for string 2. And that's going to be called B character map. So then we can compare the two. So before we do anything up there, let's create our helper function, which is going to be called build character map. That's going to take in a string. Okay, and then what we'll do is initialize an object called char map. Okay, and then we want to basically loop through the string. So let's say for, and we'll say let char of the string, and let's just make it all lowercase, so 2 lowercase. All right, and then for each character, we're going to take our character map, and for the index will be whatever the character is, and we want to set it to the number of occurrences. So what we can do is take the character map with the index, and we're going to add 1 to it, or it's going to be 1. So basically, if there's more than one occurrence, then it'll add 1. Otherwise, it's just going to be 1 if there's only one occurrence of that character. And then we're going to return the character map object. All right. Now, just to kind of make this a little more clear, I'm actually going to I'm going to just console log a character map and B character map, just so you can see what the hell this is in case you're really confused. Now to do that, we do have to call the function. So I'll say anagram, and I'll just pass in 2 separate words. So we'll do hello and let's do world, which obviously are not an anagram. All right, and then we have to actually run this file if we want to do this. So we'll say node, and let's see, we're in the root here, so we need to go into anagram and then anagram.js. So this is what we get. This is the first character map right here. So for the word hello, we have H1, E1, L2, right? Because there's 2 L's in hello, and then O1. And then world, we have W1, O1, so everything is 1. So the only time that we have more than one occurrence is the L in hello. So the reason we're doing this is so that we can compare these to see if they're anagrams, because if they have the same characters and the same number of occurrences, then that's an anagram. All right, so I hope that makes sense, or at least it makes a little bit of sense. So now we can get rid of that, we can get rid of the console log, and what we're going to do is an if statement here, and we can say if object.keys, so the keys are the letters or the characters, and we're going to pass in a character map, and we want to get the length, right? So if that length is not equal to the object.keys in B character map's length, so dot length, then we want to return false, because obviously if they're not the same, if they're not the same length, then they can't be an anagram. To be an anagram, you have to have it's the same length and the same characters. So that takes care of the length. Now for the characters, we're going to do a for loop here, for in, and let's say let char in a character map, and then we can just say if a character map, and we want to use char as the index, so we're basically going through each character. So if that is not equal to B character map, and then pass in char. So if at any time in any of these iterations they're not equal, we're going to return false, because in order for it to be an anagram, we have to loop through, and these always have to be true. Okay, so if either of these two fail, right, or return false, then it's not an anagram. Otherwise, we're going to return true. So now we can run our tests. So let's say npm run test. Okay, so it looks like 4 failed. Oh, I didn't export this. So module exports anagram. I think I've done that on at 3 out of the last 4 videos. Okay, so you can see it passed. All right, so if we look at our test, and you can just see like Cinema and Iceman. So what we did is we built a character map for both of these, right? And we have the characters as the key and the number of occurrences of that character as the value. Then in this function, we took we checked to see if the length is the same, right? So if the length of this and this are the same, then if they were, we keep going. Then we loop through all the characters and we see if the characters match. If they don't at any time, then we return false because they all need to match. If this passes, then we return true. All right, so that's that. Now, in the next video, we're going to do something a little different. We're actually going to use some DOM elements, and we're going to basically have an algorithm or a function to get elements by tag. So we'll have a root tag, and then we want to get the elements inside of that tag. Now, right now we have no DOM, right? We haven't been working with the browser at all. This is all just right in Node.js. So we have to actually add the DOM environment, and there's an extra package that we have to add to do that. And we have to just add a config value to our jest environment called JS DOM. All right, so we're going to get into that in the next video.